Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I'm going to take a deep dive look at part 4 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Now, before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok just by searching Force Ghost Conversations. We look forward to connecting with you on those platforms then. Also, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost conversations. Okay, everyone, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations. And if you've been following along all our journey here, you would know that we are at now part 4 of our discussions of all the episodes for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that is now out on Disney Plus. And uh, you know, this is also another bonus episode, as I've promised that I would deliver 3 episodes this week. So the next one after this will obviously be on part 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, just making sure that we're just about as caught up as we can be in terms of what the show, where it's at in the show. At the time of this recording, it is the Tuesday, so the new episode will be released tomorrow. So, and as far as we know, that is the series finale or the season finale, what have you. Um, so we're slowly chugging our way through all of everything that is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And boy, what a series that it has been so far. A lot of great stuff has been released in the show. A lot of great stuff is yet to come. And I'm really excited to get into our part 4 discussion here now. A couple caveats at the beginning, of course, as our listener, excuse me, as you definitely know now, but as our listeners are also aware, and those on social media, I am still very much recovering from COVID. So, um, if I sound extra nasally, or if you hear me coughing to the side, or if I sneeze or whatnot, I apologize in advance for that. I will also probably apologize several times throughout the recording. I've been on the other end of podcasts where people are doing all that stuff, and I know it can mess with audio. Um, so hopefully it all turns out good. But just wanted to let you all know that ahead of time, and to thank you in advance for your understanding and patience as we all battle through this tough time. And I hope that you and your family are doing well and safe, and doing everything you can to not catch this, because I can tell you it's not fun whatsoever. So that's one caveat. Another caveat I wanted to mention is my apologies again to everyone. I never realized that in the last 3 discussion episodes for um, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I forgot to put spoiler warnings at the top of every episode. So that's entirely my bad on that. I've just been so excited to get into the nitty-gritty of all these shows and to talk about them, and to just geek out with you all about the great stuff that is this show. So my apologies there if I ruined anyone's experience. That's all on me. But henceforth, after this point in time, spoiler alert for everything Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 4. We will not go beyond Part 4, even though I've seen Part 4, and even though I've seen Part 5. And obviously, I won't touch on Part 6 because it hasn't come out yet, time of this recording. So just thank you all again for your patience and understanding there, and I hope that you can understand that I've just been very excited to talk about this show. So again, spoiler warning for everything beyond this point. One last thing too, because this is a bonus episode this week, there is no news segment. Our prototypical Cloud City Gossip segment will return for Sunday episode. Sorry, everyone. I had to take a sip of my wonderful cherry Pepsi. We're not sponsored in any way, but it tastes great. um, And so that will be on our Sunday episode, which probably will be, probably it will be. I know what it's going to be. It's going to be our discussion for part 5 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And so get ready for that. But in the meantime, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this all, which is part 4 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And it's a great episode. I mean, it's not long at all, and there's not a whole lot of in terms of dialogue. It's a very action-centered one episode, but at the same time, action is great. We love action here at Force Goods Conversations. That's partially why people get into Star Wars, is because of the pew 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 of it all. So, yikes! Apologize. Let's get into the beginning here, and honestly, our heroes are not in a great place right now. Leia has been taken by Reva, the third sister, the Inquisitor, and Obi-Wan is barely, and I mean that, barely clinging on to life. He suffered major burns that he received from part 3 when he was fighting Darth Vader, and Vader was trying to do his best at all turns to make him suffer. So let's not mince words here. Our heroes are not at a great place at all at the start of this. They don't even really know where Leia is going to. She's heading off to some unknown world, planet, place that they really don't understand. I know they have a theory about where she could be going, but it's not like they're tracking her at all. And then their famous Jedi leader is a broken man, a frail semblance of his former self, and this episode is really about the reformation of what we know to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. So let's just say he's hurt a lot worse than what I originally thought during part 3, because you get to see the actual body of Ewan McGregor and the burn marks on particularly the right side of his body. And it's interesting to note that that's going to scar him for the rest of his life. That's going to be with him for forever. So in episode 4 in Star Wars Rebels, when you see the character, just remember underneath those clothes there's going to be some burn marks there, which is very, very interesting for canon. Honestly, the lesson learned here though is do not play with fire, kids. It's a big one. That's a real big one. Something that was really neat though to me in this whole sequence was the juxtaposition of both Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi in the bacta tank, but right, they're both reliving pieces of the fight from part 3. And I just found it to be a really cool story beat. I wonder personally if they can sense each other through the bacta now that they've kind of reconnected with each other in some way. But I found that really cool. We learned that Tala and Ned B have taken Obi-Wan to the planet of Jabeam to heal, which I know has some Legends connotations. I've seen that comic circulate around on on Twitter and whatnot about Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars going to Jabeam for a fight. So interesting all around. So while Obi-Wan is trying to recover from his wounds and not doing a great job at it, frankly, because he jumps out of the bacta tank as soon as possible, Leia is being interrogated by the third sister, Reva. She tells her, Reva tells her some false truths in order to pry out some more information about the path that network that we were introduced to in part 3. She says to him, Obi-Wan is dead. No one is coming for you. But Leia is smarter than that, though. She can kind of see through this deception and lies. And Leia knows a thing or two about... it seems to me like she's more aware of how to recognize when people are being false than others. And, maybe that's a little bit of Padme in her. Interesting to think about that. We're introduced to Colin Roken, who is portrayed by none other than O'Shea Jackson Jr., who is Ice Cube's son. It's neat to have him in Star Wars now, I will say. But he's a little reluctant to get to assisting Obi-Wan in his Grand Crusade quest here. Obi-Wan has to do some convincing in order to get him to assist in the hunt and rescue for Leia. Roken Apologies, everyone, for that. So Roken shared that his wife was even force sensitive, and that he knew what they were getting into when they got married, and they tried to hide it, but those inquisitors are pretty pesky and still found out and eventually got to her. So clearly the ruthlessness of the dark side is so strong. The hunt for those who could potentially limit their power uh, obviously would never stop with those who claim to be Jedi, of course. Any Force user could prove to be a threat and therefore has to be eliminated, right? When you're fearful of losing your power, you will do anything in order to protect that. And that's clearly what they're doing here across the galaxy in general. The group on Jabim believes that Leia is being held on a planet called Nur, which is in the Mustafar system. As we know, who is in the Mustafar system? Vader obviously is over in Mustafar with his castle. The group on Jabim then receives a little bit of information about the planet before the Fortress Inquisitorius went fully operational, and then shut down communications to the outside. So they got like a little glimpse of what's going on over there, but they have no idea what tip. Basically, they even noted in a way that like they only know the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this fortress. Right? There's a whole underground network there, and they only get to see really what's like the whole top portion of it all. But Obi-Wan's tenacity really comes through in this scene. He's going to save Leia one way or another, even if he has to do it alone. And something that I really appreciate is that Tala decides to join him. She has that great Imperial cover as an officer, can help get him safely through. But, we'll see, though. It is Star Wars after all. But this is those actions speaking louder than words. That is a constant theme that is coming up in this series, right? Here is a great example of someone who made mistakes in the past and is trying to do right by him by doing the right thing, of course, and that is saving Leia. So there's a great exchange of dialogue then between Obi-Wan and Tala as they're making their way to the Fortress Inquisitorius. She tells him that it is more than his body that needs healing, right? She says the past is a hard thing to forget. You just need time, that's all. But Obi-Wan retorts back with, some things can't be forgotten. So this interaction to me is really at the core of what this series is about. Not only is the arc really about Obi-Wan reclaiming who and frankly what he once was in some fashion, of course, but it is about rising above the mistakes of the past, learning from them, growing from them. It is something that inherently is within each of us, and we can try to be better at that as humans each and every day. Meanwhile, Reva does her best to break Leia, her mental fortitude, I should say. However, Leia is not budging at all, despite Reva's best appeals to, her emotion and suggestions to reunite her with her family if she helps them out, right? These temptations of the dark side. Tala's one-upping of the guard at the security area was sure to me that was a real neat use of her position and power. Her smart and wits have really been at the forefront of this series. And then she even uses her physical strength a bit later to take out some of the other officers and stormtroopers, which, this character has only been a real big standout for me. So here's hoping for more Tala content coming forward. I know that the Imperial Officer Black Series figure just was announced. Apologies for that. Let me take a sip of my drink here. Hope I'm not sounding too nasally, because I feel like I'm sounding nasally here, but we're fighting our way through it here, everybody. We're enjoying Kenobi. We're having a good time. Let's keep going with this episode here. And let me tell you what. Did I scream out loud when I noticed that Obi-Wan was using that same like underwater breathing device from episode 1? Just anything prequel related is going to get me going. So great stuff there. It also looks like he is taking the Cal Kestis approach too by infiltrating from underwater, which is a neat connection to fans of the game Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So you're into that and you're a big gamer, go check that out. Cannot recommend that game enough. So I loved seeing Obi-Wan use the Force to make a noise distraction as he's kind of walking away, walking around the fortress to find out where Leia actually is. Not only is it similar to when he shuts down the tractor beam in A New Hope, he does a very similar thing. So it's just a neat connection overall. But it keeps the same like philosophy together about Kenobi, where there are alternatives to fighting. It is very Jedi of him to to look for such alternatives, frankly, and that's really cool. But at the other end of the spectrum, again, Reva's tactics of fear are super interesting to me. I mean, I have seen part 5, so I know more about her character now, but I won't spoil anything yet. We'll talk about that later in a distant episode of Force Ghost Conversations here. But it's interesting how much she is relying on her self-reliance, so to speak. Interesting to note that. Leia is super smart to exploit the situation to try and talk to her father. I thought that was really cool. But Reva, of course, saw right through that. And Leia is thrown into an interrogation rig, though, because of her unwillingness to cooperate. And that's putting it a little nicely. So, I mean, frankly, we're getting to like some of the most juicy stuff that is in the Fortress Inquisitorius now. In the episode, of course, then Obi-Wan discovers that the Inquisitors are keeping the remains of fallen Jedi and appears to be other Force users in an amber-like substance, kind of similar to like a Jurassic Park kind of deal with the mosquitoes. So most famous among those that we are shown is Terrace Nube, who is the most prominent in the Clone Wars in the animated series when he helps Ahsoka find her lightsaber in the Coruscant underworld. It entirely makes sense to me why the Inquisitors, complete this process. Frankly, these Jedi are like hunting trophies to them in a way. When they are all gone, I mean, what else will they have left but to look at their conquests in a way and go down there and regale tales of how they killed these Jedi or Force users and whatnot? I mean, come on, this scenario is so similar to the real world in a lot of aspects. I mean, do you know any hunters in your life? Do they like displaying their trophies? I mean, come on now. It just makes sense. I will also note from Star Wars Rebels that these sometimes the Force is a very mystical thing, of course, right? And these bodies, in a way, are used to entice other Jedi to reveal themselves, similar to what we saw in the first season of Star Wars Rebels with Master Luminara. So then, of course, things do not go as planned. Obi-Wan has to fight with his lightsaber a bit as he and Leia escape once they're reunited again. Seeing Obi-Wan fight again with his lightsaber does bring absolutely warm feelings to my prequel loving heart. Seeing him defend Leia and regaining both his strength and abilities with his saber again, I mean, there's that pose that he has in the hallway, which you know which one I'm talking about if you've watched the episode. Like, it's just him becoming the Jedi that we Whew, apologies. That is him just becoming the Jedi that we know and love again. Chef's kiss perfection to all those that put this together and created this sequence. Unfortunately, Obi-Wan did direct a blaster bolt into the window, causing it to break. But frankly, everything about this instance is great to me. It's Obi-Wan believing in himself again. He's channeling the Force to push the water towards those incoming stormtroopers while protecting Leia and Tala at the same time. And also the score showcasing that new excellent Obi-Wan Kenobi theme by John Williams is all together in this scene. And it is great, right? Like I mentioned, this episode is really about the the rising up again of Obi-Wan Kenobi, becoming that character who he once was in episodes 1, 2, and 3. Um, Overcoming the past, looking beyond it, uh, taking this great defeat that he had in part 3, and starting over again, picking himself back up again, letting the force flow through him, right? This is all coming to pass here. And then we even got to see some speeders come out to save the day, which at the end, which was really awesome. I wonder if this group from Jabim, if I'm speculating responsibly here, will go on to create some sort of rebel cell or even join the greater rebel alliance one day. I would love to see that in some way, shape, or form, whether it be book or comic. These things happen. These characters continue to grow and evolve. We'll see where they go. But again, it is central to the theme of this series. Actions speak louder than words. And poor Wade, who I know has created quite an internet following over the last couple of days, has he does make the ultimate sacrifice. And with all that, Leia is safe for now. Back on the fortress, though, Lord Vader, and rightfully so, is not pleased with Reva's inability. However, she informs him that she placed a tracker on the ship, which is actually the lovable droid Lola. Hey, Gads, of course. Whew. They've really set themselves up for a magnificent part 5 with this episode. And I've already seen part 5, and I think it's phenomenal. It's probably some of the best Star Wars that they've done in general in the new Disney Lucasfilm era. But part 5 is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi that we have known and loved from the prequel trilogy is back, in my opinion. This episode was his re-emergence. He still has, obviously, more room to grow, but he is no longer the shell of a man from earlier in the series that is broken, that is afraid, that is running from his problems, or creating excuses as to why he shouldn't be somewhere that he is needed. I really want to end with this wonderful beat about that kind hand-holding by Leia, which is really heartwarming, and it's an action. It's that theme around all of this. Again, actions speak louder than words, and it is her way of saying thank you without needing to say the words out loud. The trust and bond that both Leia and Obi-Wan that they have forged over the course of this series is super special to me, and it only heightens what we now know of for Leia in the original trilogy and beyond, especially in naming her son Ben after him. So those are all my musings for part 4 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I hope that you are all at home enjoying all of the ride here. I personally, as someone who the prequel trilogy is very, very special to me for a variety of reasons. I hope that there's something in this show that everyone can get a part of, and it's just been wonderful to talk about it each and every week with you all. Talk about each of the episodes individually, and just to have a great time with all the nuances, and to give it the time that it really deserves, because these people really put in, the creators and the people that work behind the scenes really put in a lot of work and effort into creating this wonderful story. And with that, we'll be back in our next episode talking all about part 5 of the epic Obi-Wan Kenobi series, available only on Disney Plus. So if you want to catch up with where we're at, be sure to check out our former episodes of Force Ghost Conversations here. Parts 1 through 4 are soon. Ooh, hope my cough gets better before then, I'll tell you that. But yeah, basically, we're going to be tackling all that. Parts 1 through 4 are now available on any podcast listening site that we've got. So we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor, you name it. If you got a podcast site, we're probably on it in some way, shape, or form. So be sure to check out our previous episodes. Tell your friends about us. Let's continue to grow the seats around the proverbial campfire that we've got here at Force Ghost Conversations. Would love to hear what you all think about the show. What are your favorite aspects? Who are your favorite characters? What are the moments that make you get up and cheer out of your seats? Um, yeah, let's continue the conversation. We're on Twitter at Forest Ghost Pod. And then, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Just search Forest Ghost Conversations and we'll be there in some way, shape, or form. And there's a lot to discuss from all this stuff. And I can't wait to have further conversations with you all. And lastly, thanks again for understanding and being patient with me as I am recovering from from this illness. Um, it's a long road to recovery, obviously, even though it's been over a week since I've been diagnosed. Um, so we're one day at a time. That's all you can do. Do your best and try to be as safe as you can. So thanks again for your patience in that. I hope you're enjoying the bonus episodes this week of Forest Ghost Conversations, and we'll be back on our regularly scheduled time this Sunday with part 5. So with all that, take care, everyone. May the force be with you, and we'll see you soon. Bye.